3 things you're doing that make your prospects and connections cringe.
Welcome back to LinkedIn to Lead Generation. That is your host, Hannah Tai, our LinkedIn expert. We're doing a 4-part series where we're talking about, how you can be using LinkedIn for successful prospecting. Hannah, you've been doing a lot of work with companies up to 50 employees who have salespeople who really need to get good at this LinkedIn stuff. What are we focusing on in this particular episode here? What are these 3 things you're talking about?
Sure. So we want to make sure that when you are actually connecting with people and doing things on LinkedIn, that you're not channeling behaviors that make them cringe and make you look really bad and really awful.
That would be bad. We don't want that, no.
No, you don't want to do that. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today to make sure that, you're really building quality relationships and presenting yourself in a way that opens up the conversation instead of closes the door.
Excellent. Sounds good. So give me the bullet points that we're going to hit, and then we'll go through those bullet points.
Sure. So we're going to talk a little bit about connections and making sure you personalize them, introduction requests, when you request an introduction, how to do it correctly, and also actually trying to build a relationship before you pitch.
Go figure. That's why they call it social media, right? To get the social part in there,
Yeah.
All right, so let's take those. These are going to be great topics here. So we don't want you to make your prospects and connections cringe. That's really, really bad. That would be the opposite of what you're trying to do if you're trying to use LinkedIn to do some good prospecting. So
Yes.
One of the things you're talking about that really can make people cringe or make people feel a little uncomfortable doing business with you is that you're not personalizing your connections and your outreach. So tell me a little bit about that.
Right, exactly. So when you're just kind of using a very cookie cutter thing, like if you are just, kind of spamming people and you're just copying and pasting and you're not.
I get those all the time, and isn't it? It's like totally obvious. I mean, there's just something about it. You know that it has not a stitch of personalization to you, even though they may use your name and all that, but it's clearly cut and paste, right?
Right. So the number one thing you want to make sure you always do is you actually use their name. You don't want to use any kind of generic, I'd like to add you to my network. You want to tell them why and the fact that you actually have looked at their profile. So you maybe want to mention something that you saw on their profile, or some kind of commonality that you guys may share, if it's a group you share, an industry you share, whatever it is. Try and find that commonality to open that door. Quick story, Mark, I wanted to tell you. I actually just recently had someone who reached out to me, and I wrote back, thanks for reaching out, love to learn more, and I did that sort of thing. And then they wrote back with a obviously very generic message, to which I took some time to actually thoughtfully reply to that again.
Right.
And then someone else in their organization actually the next day reached out to me with the same exact
blurb that you got the first time.
Blurb, no name, and it looked so bad. And I just thought to myself, wow, how to make someone feel like you are an automaton, you have no, interest in really forming a relationship, and you have no idea, how we can really work together. So
absolutely,
do not do that.
Exactly. I delete those. I delete those right away. Right. I mean, I'm. You're a much warmer, kinder person than I am, Hannah, because you took the time to actually respond to that. When I have that feeling of cookie cutter, I just don't respond because I know that they're not really talking to me. They're wasting their time.
Right.
Now, I'll say this though. I'm a big fan of we're all busy. We're all trying to, be good marketers. There's a place for automated stuff. There's a place for automated autoresponders in your email marketing, in the right place. LinkedIn is not where it belongs.
LinkedIn is not that place.
Right.
No,
this is the place to be personal and social. You've said it a million times. This is the virtual equivalent of being at a physical networking event where I need to have a personal conversation. So you can't do this hyper efficiently. You're not going to be effective if you've got your boilerplate and you're going to say, how many people can I paste this into an email with today?
Right.
Not a good strategy. Your time would be better spent hitting fewer people where you've looked at their profile, because remember, they can tell whether you looked at their profile or not, right? Especially if they're serious about LinkedIn.
Especially if they're premium members, yeah.
Yeah, I talked to somebody not that long ago who said, look, if I get any communication from you and I see that you have not looked at my profile, I am going to unconnect from you. So
how do you know what my needs are? How do you know? Yeah, exactly. So
you're not talking to me. Exactly. So, all right, enough said about that. So you need to have personalization. This is true social media. This is a virtual networking event. So let's go on to, introductions and requests. And, we've talked about this before, but it absolutely bears repeating because people forget this over and over and over again. Etiquette. Let's talk about the right way to approach people.
Sure. So when you do find a common connection that you know well enough that can actually connect you to somebody that you would like to get to know, you want to make sure you reach out to that person. And first, you want to make sure that they feel strong enough in their relationship that they can make that introduction. Mm-hmm. So you ask right away, hey, I noticed you know Joe Smith, is the nature of your relationship one where you would feel comfortable enough reaching out? I'd like to talk to them about XYZ. I noticed that they blah, 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 and I think I can help by blah, 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 or, whatever it is. Try and think of why you really want to reach out to this person, how you can help, and it can't just be like, hey, I just want to sell my stuff.
Right, exactly. This is play nice with others, right? And so would you agree that part of it is being strategic, right? For both of you. So how can I structure my request so that it's obvious that if I were approaching you, Hannah, for an introduction to somebody, my goal would be to make you look good making the introduction of me to this other person. And if I can't find a way that it actually strengthens your relationship, I probably shouldn't be asking, right? Because then I'm being selfish,
Right, and also you want that person to be able to effectively represent why it is that, they are reaching out to make this introduction. Right. So, Mark, if I just said to you, oh, hey, I want you to connect me with, Jane Doe, okay, and I didn't say why. Well, how effective of an introduction can you really make? I mean,
it's not going to be effective, and it's also going to be awkward, right? Because why am I talking to Jane Doe? Why am I introducing Hannah to Jane? Right. What are they going to do? Right. So you would not be adequately giving me the tools to feel comfortable representing you.
Right.
And you'd be putting me in an awkward situation with Jane. So don't do that.
Exactly. So also, and then the last thing you want to make sure that you do is that, again, you always give that out, okay? And besides that, the other thing I did want to, let me just back up 1 minute. You also want to make sure that when you're asking someone for an introduction, you don't want to be gluttonous. Mm-hmm. So there's another word that I can use that I won't. But you want to make sure that, you're thinking about, have I asked this person before? Because we're all busy, okay? Mm-hmm. So it's one thing to ask someone for a favor, but if you're continuously asking and taking, you really want to be cognizant of that. And the other thing you want to do is you want to say at the end of your introduction, and by the way, if there's anyone I can introduce you to, or I can help you in any way, please let me know, right?
Yeah. No, listen, I think it really helps, and I think you're the one that taught me this, and I'm going to give you full credit anyway, to keep thinking of this as a live networking event, right? We're in a room full of 50 people, and I keep coming up to you, Hannah, because I know that you know everyone in the room. I say, Hannah, can you introduce me to John?
Right.
And 10 minutes later, I come back, Hannah, can you introduce me to Fred?
Right.
I'm going to annoy the crap out of you, right?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
You're not going to want to talk to me anymore, and I'm being really selfish. I'm not saying, hey, by the way, Hannah, I got to introduce you to so-and-so. I've just had a great conversation. They really could use help with their LinkedIn profile. You guys really should talk.
Exactly.
So, again, play nice with others, but mentally, even though you're alone at your computer with your LinkedIn network, think of yourself as being in a room full of these people and be a good connector. Do as much connecting as looking for connections.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
And it's going to work great if you do that. You'll play well with others.
Yes.
So let's move on to the next point that you have made here, which is don't use LinkedIn as a cold calling tool, right? You're kind of missing out on warming up building the relationship, as you say, right?
Right. So if someone is kind enough to actually, if you reach out to them and they do accept your connection request, okay, you don't want to then follow up with a, hey,
Buy
and
my stuff.
I noticed that you are in blah, 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 and I have this wonderful product that will make your life fabulous, and there's some swampland in Florida,
Delete.
yeah, I mean, it's just like, really? Or I've actually gotten, in-mails and where like people will literally have things where it says like insert here and like form. I mean, it's just crazy.
Right.
I mean, it's just crazy. So, it really.
People do the craziest things with cut and paste, that's for sure.
Yes, it's bad. So if you just take some time and lightly, I say lightly touch people, but
virtually lightly touch people.
Virtually.
Good touch, not bad touch.
Yes, good touch. Exactly. Good touch, not bad touch. You want to make sure that this is a good touch where you are building that relationship. Okay? If you are coming at someone, it's like an assault. Like you're really like, right. I don't know you.
And I'm serious. We've got to do an episode that is sort of a parody of that sort of education segment about good touch, bad touch for kids.
Oh my gosh.
Social media, good touch, social media, bad touch.
That's a great idea, Mark. I love that. We should totally do that. Yes. Okay.
We're going to do that. We're going to do it. We just did it a little bit, but we're going to do it. We're going to do a full episode on good social touching. All right. All right. On that note, I'm going to wrap us up here. So again, this is part of our fun-loving 4-part series. Hopefully you're having fun, but I know you're getting great information because I know I'm getting great information. So we're talking about LinkedIn for successful prospecting is the overall theme of this 4-part series we're talking about. And today we've been talking about the 3 things that you need to be careful not to do if you want to avoid making your prospects or their connections cringe when you show up in their inbox. So we've talked about, failing to personalize the connections, the right way, not the wrong way to request, connections or introductions, and time to actually warm things up and not just cold pitch people. So if those are good things, then you want to keep following Hannah's show here, which is called LinkedIn to Lead Generation. Great stuff here if you're looking to use LinkedIn, and you better be looking to use LinkedIn if you don't want to be left behind. So until our next episode, Hannah, thanks so much for all this great information.
Thanks so much, Mark.